Top 5 grilling mistakes that make the food that you're putting on the grill unhealthy. Sitting next to it, whether you got a smoker, an egg, a propane. We got a little bit of each around this place, but you can make this unhealthy really, really fast. We're going to give you the top 5 things right now that cause it. Let's go, Nurse Livingood. Number one. You overcook it. Charring. I don't know why I said it that way, but meat that is overcooked. We actually did some microscopic blood work years ago, and it was cellular blood work. It's not even allowed in the United States. But we wanted to analyze, like, what is our body sensitive to? We weren't even really expecting all the chemicals and stuff.
Right.
But it was found that your cells, and most human cells, are very susceptible to food that's been overcooked, especially from a grilling perspective. That extremely high temperature turns the amino acids the amino acids that build the protein. So your meat is made up of a bunch of amino acids. That's the benefit of it. You absolutely need amino acids. We, I believe, need complete sources of these proteins. And I think meat is a good source that God gave us, whether you choose to eat it or not. This whole video, by the way, will not be, don't eat meat. It's not along those lines. It's like, how do you enjoy it, but keep it healthy? But the amino acids that are in the protein that we're trying to get from the meat interact with the creatine, where the two of those make up the building block, that chemical creatine found in muscles. They have an interaction from a biochemistry perspective when you do heat them. And when they are overheated, those two interact and they produce a potential carcinogenic chemical, carcinogenic compound. It's called an HCA. And the longer you cook meat, the more HCAs can come out of it. So those of you like burnt bacon, bad news. Not the best thing for you. You can enjoy some bacon. We are not teaching on what type of meat to intake today. That can be found in the book. There's a link for that below if you need some help on what type of meat, because it matters a lot. But then don't spend extra money getting organic meat or getting grass-fed beef or getting free-range chicken and then burn it. Or if you're going to have pork, getting organic pork and then burn it, because you're going to increase these HCAs. The other thing you're going to increase are PAHs. You can see I use acronyms for this, because I'm like, next up is the polycyclical aromatic hydrocarbons, and that's big old word form. They're formed when the fats and the juice out of it, and we love that. And it's not like you can avoid it while you're grilling, but when that falls onto the flame while you're grilling, right? This happens a lot, like with brats and things of that nature, and that creates more of the smoky, carcinogenic problem of grilling. So the whole point here is turn down the heat, right? And then try not to have the juiciness going everywhere where it's flamed up. If it is, turn the flame down. But there's some ways, I already said 2 of them, to reduce this. What else can we do to...
That's what I do. I always make sure I can avoid the flames as best as I can. You want to cook at a lower temperature, not super high, and as brief as you possibly can without, obviously, being undercooked meat. But you can flip it often, so that way you're not charring each side. You can marinate the meats before cooking it. Those oils kind of help keep it together.
Good. We're going to talk oils, but give me an oil that you would marinate with. What would be best to kind of, because you're protecting, you're coating the meat from the heat, and so that's going to give you a little barrier there.
Seasonings mixed with like an avocado oil is what I would use.
I teed that up, like we put that right there.
Like this one. You want me to say something else for this one?
No, there's no specific brand. But avocado can withstand really high heat, so I like it for that.
What else would I do? Obviously, I don't eat that part of the meat if it is charred. If it does get charred, I would not eat that part, specifically for the sensitivities.
That's a big one there. It's going to happen. Cut it off. Don't eat that piece. Right? Stinks when you I've done it. Burn the meat. Left it on that side too long. Like either cut that side off, right, or just lop part of the side of the chicken off, or the piece of the hot dog or whatever you're having.
Or you can start or finish the meat in the oven as well. So you can cook. You don't like to minimize the time on a grill.
Pro tip.
Pro tip.
Next up, bad oils. Number 2. Cooking with bad oils, very dangerous. They're already rancid. And so what I mean by these is they're polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are your cottonseed oils. These are your soybean oils. These are your vegetable oils. This is a lot of marinades. the ones you're finding on the shelf,
Yeah.
containing these bad oils, terrible for the lining and the inside of your blood vessels, rough on your cholesterol, hard on your brain. They congest the cells. There's a lot of research and a lot of studies even coming out of Mayo Clinic of all places showing that when you put a lot of these PUFAs inside of your system, you're asking for your LDL cholesterol to get worse. You're asking for your immune function to get worse, and they're dangerous to cook with. So they're already rancid, they're already unstable from the way they were produced to come from the soybean into the actual oil.
From the canola plant.
From the canola plant, that's a rapeseed, to the actual oil. It's already rancid, your body doesn't recognize it, it's unstable. Then you heat it. It'd be the worst thing to do to a PUFA. So I try to stay away from PUFAs, let alone heating PUFAs. What should we cook with, and what is the kind of the heat regimen for grilling?
Yeah, so the only ones I would use in grilling would be something like an organic butter, avocado oil, coconut oil. The ones that are you would want to go a little bit lower and slower with the cooking would be the organic butter and the coconut oil. Avocado oil has a little bit higher of a heating point, so you could go hotter on that.
I like avocado for hotter.
I like avocado.
Coconut can handle it pretty
yeah.
good. Just butter you got to be very careful of.
Butter would
and I
be
know there's
slow.
some scenarios where we want to use it while we're grilling, but yeah, we just got to.
But the right coconut oils can give you that same flavor that you're looking for the butter, so you could switch to that for grilling at least.
Grew up a lot of times the burgers we used to do. I remember on tinfoil. We used to do mushrooms on tinfoil, cowboy packages on tinfoil. Number 3, what we are cooking on, what we are cooking in. So the grates of the grill,
toxic.
the tinfoil of the grill, chemicals in there from a Teflon
Mostly what you're cooking on would be like the grates or the pan.
Yeah, so we made sure when I ordered new grates last year for the grill. We have a propane one downstairs, this one as well. It's either ceramic or the one downstairs. I made sure we got cast iron or stainless steel at least for the tops of those. If you're cooking on Teflon, you are getting exposed to PFOAs, the fumes of PFOAs. They actually did a poor study with birds where they took the fumes and sent it to the bird cage, killed the bird. It gives you flu-like symptoms and headaches. It's also linked to cancer. So PFOAs, the fumes given off from cooking on Teflon is a no-go in the kitchen or on the grill, as well as looking at this, number 3 being what you're cooking on. Number 4, we're going to go into tinfoil.
Right.
So cooking on that as well. So quick, before we go into tinfoil, what do we use instead of, what are some of the solutions that you can give us? Like, I need to cook my veggies. What do I cook in? Right. I don't want to use Teflon. What do I use?
So you said the 2, stainless steel and cast iron would be the 2 that, and I think we have some on our store on the marketplace just as examples, but a cast iron type of pan you could use, and stainless steel, there's stainless steel grates or little pans that you can put your vegetables in and whatnot. Now, if you need to use something to cover the bottom, at least you're minimizing your exposure, and you are like a tinfoil or something underneath the pan so the drippings don't completely drip. But just don't let it touch the food specifically if you're going to use anything. But yeah, I like these cast iron pans, stainless steel. Those are 2 great options you could use.
Utensils as well, paying attention to those, that you're not having the coatings and such on them. So,
or like the plastic tongs.
Right. So let's go right into tinfoil, same category. This stuff has been linked, the aluminum in it.
Why do you even have that in the house?
I don't want to touch it. So the tinfoil side of it, this has been linked to Alzheimer's-related brain cognitive dysfunction, too much aluminum in your body. I'm not saying directly tinfoil, but this is aluminum and obviously getting into the system. And irritable bowel disease. If you're struggling with digestive problems and things are sped up and your bowels are irritated, we need to cut aluminum as much as possible out of our life. How do we do this? How do we minimize exposure? What do you do?
I would avoid cooking it, especially at high heat.
So just don't heat it.
Well, for sure. And high heats, and I wouldn't let it touch my food if at all possible. So if you are going to, some people cover their foods while they're like baking something, just make sure it's not touching the food, that if you're going to use it.
It's essentially why we have it. Yep.
Yeah. If I ever needed to cover something lightly or something, I just wouldn't, or again, underneath some of those stainless steel pans when we're grilling, there's holes, so if I'm putting an oil on it, they can drip, so I'll just put it underneath the pan, or I'll put a baking dish or something underneath the pan. But what else do we use? I'm trying to think. It's hard for me because I don't really use it. I would use something else. You could use, there's like glass or porcelain or something, other types of utensils, but just minimize it, honestly.
Yep. Try to reduce it.
Yep.
And then finally, number 5, that makes your grilling toxic, your seasoning. Seasonings, a lot of times, they're irradiated. They do this so they can try to prevent microbes from building up in the seasoning. However, you're killing crucial nutrients with that, and you're taking in extra toxins in that regard. And then we don't want any additives. A lot of times, the Lowry salt, you're getting heavy metals in there from the way that they produce it. So when you do see organic or natural on the seasoning, then you're avoiding the arsenic and the lead and the cadmium and all the heavy metals. They build up over time in your body. So anytime we can avoid those, they just tend to be in these types of powders quite often. Using these, they can start to mess with childhood development. They can lead to allergies for people. They can cause reproductive system problems, hypertension. It's going to damage the kidneys when these things build up. So irradiating herbs is a no-go. We'd prefer to avoid that. Trader Joe's actually doesn't irradiate any of their herbs, which is kind of cool. Or you can be looking for the organic ones, right?
More clean.
And you've kind of cut this down quite a bit. I mean, we're just sticking to like the big 3 right there.
That's about the extent of our seasoning: sea salt, pepper, and some garlic powder.
That is about the extent. We make food simple. We make grilling simple.
It's not that you couldn't use other things if you wanted. You would just want to make sure they're clean.
You're always coming up with recipes using fresh ingredients, yeah.
Yep.
Chopping up fruits, chopping up onions, chopping up things that can top it. That will give it a lot of flavor or seasoning. So.
Yeah, I always try and find even putting a pesto on top of for flavor, or with the basil, or some type of mango avocado type of salsa we did on chicken recently. Just something on top that gives it flavor too, if you don't want to season it with a bunch of stuff. We're
constantly learning, getting better 1% at a time. A doctor, a nurse, living this out with you. Those are the tips in our home. Subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more tips like this, and then how you can overcome and make health simple, as well as like and share this. Comment below on what you think about healthy grilling. Where are you coming up short and need to do better?